What if you could build a business that makes money every single day without trading your time for dollars? That's exactly what Gemma Bonham-Carter did. Back when she was working a 9-to-5 in public health, stuck in traffic at 8 months pregnant, she knew that she needed more freedom. She launched her first online course in 2017 and made $13,000. But fast forward to today, that number has skyrocketed and her course business now generates over 7 figures a year, and she hasn't had a $0 day since 2020. Gemma helped over 10,000 students launch and scale their profitable courses, and now she's integrating AI to help creators move even faster.
And if you are just selling information, at some stage that is going to die. I think there's like 2 ways to compete in the new world of AI. One is like integrating it fully. Like, what are the tools? What can I be building? How can I help my students implement faster? And then the other is...
Today, she's here to share her best strategies for turning what you know into a thriving course business, how AI is reshaping the industry, and what it really takes to build a business that runs on autopilot. Welcome to the Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world, hearing their stories about growing a business. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty, the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. Hey Gemma, welcome to the show.
Hey Brian, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my first question for you is, what would you say is the biggest thing, either that you did or you are doing, that has helped you to achieve the freedom to do what you enjoy?
Oh, yeah, good question to start off with. Honestly, I think it was really like betting on myself and going all in on like the digital courses and digital products kind of model for my online business. When I started, I could talk for this entire episode about the many business models I tried of like, doing services. I was doing DIY workshops, like, craft workshops. I had an Etsy shop. I was a blogger. I did all of these different things. And it wasn't until I actually gave like a talk at a conference about blogging. And it was, basically me teaching about blogging, right? And I had all of these people come up to me afterwards, asking follow-up questions, like really wanting to pick my brain about what I had been sharing. And a light bulb moment went off for me of like, oh my gosh, okay, this is it. Like, I love teaching about, and at the time it was about blogging strategy. It's since shifted to teaching about like online course marketing strategy. But it was at that moment that I realized, okay, I actually want to lean all the way in to this model of creating online courses and digital products, something that can generate revenue for me without requiring me to show up live every single day. And that shift really changed everything in terms of what I was building in my business. And so now, yeah, I have this business that, largely runs on, I talk about this in when I teach marketing, of like the marriage of evergreen funnels and live campaigns. And so we really maximize our sales by leveraging those 2 kind of marketing strategies. But it means like I have a pretty flexible schedule. My calendar is full of white space. I can take time away from my business without worrying that that's going to have a really detrimental effect on my income. I actually, my family and I moved to France all of last year because I can take the business with me, right? And do it from anywhere. So that's really the biggest thing, was like making that decision and going all in on building the kind of the systems and the infrastructure that were required to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I was thinking about that for myself recently too. There's definitely a difference in business of like, okay, I have a business, it's doing things, maybe I'm trying a bunch of different things like you said, but when you really decide for yourself, like, okay, this is really what I believe in, what I care about, and like, I'm really going to go all in on that, it definitely does make a change, I think, in everything.
For sure. And I was also working, just to give you like personal life stuff at the time, I was working in kind of the nap times. I had babies at home at the time. I was off on maternity leave, and I had this really clear vision of like, okay, I really do want to turn this into a full-time income so I don't have to go back to my 9-to-5 job after my mat leaves were over. And so I had that like fire under me, right, to figure it out, and yeah, really went for it.
Yeah. Well, the next question I have here, maybe I'm going to kind of answer it for myself already. And we kind of talked about it and hinted at it, that like online courses, part of the reason I think it's such an incredible business is it does give you that freedom. You do have that potential. And I think most of us like starting a business as entrepreneurs, a big driver of that is that we want to be able to have this freedom in our life and in our business. And some people get confused and think they want to make a bunch of money, but the reason you want to make money is to be able to have that freedom for yourself.
For sure.
And like online courses are really great at being able to provide that. For yourself, would you say there's any other different, like, number one benefit of being full-time in the course business?
I mean, I think you've kind of nailed it. Like for me, it's that piece of leverage, you know? So when you're selling online courses, you're not stuck in this cycle anymore of trading your time for money like you would be if you were offering one-on-one services as a coach or consultant or service provider, right? You can only take on so many clients before you're going to max out your time. And then you're kind of having to make a decision about going, like, am I going to build out an agency and have actual like staff and team members? It becomes a whole different business model. But it's completely different when you build an online course or some sort of digital product, because obviously you can build it once and sell it hundreds or thousands of times. And what's really amazing is, like, I have programs now that I created back in 2019, 2020 that I'm still selling today. And while we have updated them, of course, we've updated the curriculum over time, like, I continue to sell these same flagship programs, and we have thousands of students who've taken them. So the leverage piece is just really incredible there. And the impact, like, I can impact more people by selling this as an online program or course than I could if I was doing this one-on-one, right?
Yep, that's exactly what I was just going to add to it, because, like, I had the same moment when I had this small web design studio, and I realized that I don't want to only be able to have this leverage to be able to have the time freedom for myself, but, like, ideally I want to be able to impact more people too, and not just be like, okay, well, I helped this client, like, that's really nice, but I wish I could help more people. And that's another reason why this model is so great.
Totally agree. It's amazing to me now that I've been running my business for as long as I have, like, the different people in different industries that have come through our doors, like, from all, like, parenting, real estate, nutritionists, artists, wellness experts. The fact that I feel like I've been able to touch so many people in these different industries and the ripple effect from that is very fulfilling.
Yeah. So I think our audience they're probably sold on the idea now, if not already. I want to touch on what you mentioned about the combining the live and evergreen. I want to hear more about that, of how you do that, because I think this is a point where people get stuck. They hear all these things from different people, like, oh, evergreen's the way to do it. Oh, you've got to do live stuff. And I think it's a pretty common problem for people either to not know which to do or which to do when.
Yeah. So it's all sort of part of this, like, I think of it as like a big machine with cogs, and the wheels are turning, and they all kind of can help support one another. You can't necessarily build the machine all at once, right? It's like you do one thing, you get it working, and then you add in more and more layers to it. So I just want to, like, preface by saying that, because it can feel a little overwhelming when I talk about this system. But you're exactly right. So the idea is they can all work, and they can all work together. So if you're hearing voices of people, in your feed, like you're seeing ads all the time, or you're on email lists of people who are really promoting one over the other. In my experience of doing this for as many years as I have, the real magic happens when they work in conjunction with each other. So you can have something like an evergreen funnel, whether that is a webinar-based funnel, whether it's a funnel that kicks off from some sort of freebie you have with an email sequence afterwards, whether it's a little challenge. Like, it doesn't really matter, and it probably aligns with, you're going to have to think about how it best aligns with your audience and the program you're trying to sell to, like, develop the right evergreen funnel for you. But you can have that running 24/7, 365, so that as new leads find you, this is what you direct them to. And the idea is that the people who are ready, the people who are fast action buyers, the people who know that they want the solution now, they're going to be the people who buy in that evergreen funnel. But what it also does for a standard conversion rate is 2%. So let's say 98% of those people don't buy. what you've done in that funnel is you have positioned yourself as an expert in your niche. You have dropped a lot of great content for them, because for when I teach evergreen funnels, it's not at all just like, here's a bunch of really salesy, push it down your throat emails. It's like we're actually providing really thoughtful content in those emails and in that webinar or whatever it might be. And you've established a really strong understanding of your offer. So then 2 months down the line, 6 months down the line, a year later, whenever it is that you run a live promotion, those people on your list already know about that program because they've gone through that funnel. And so then what happens is you've got all of this baseline know, like, and trust already there. And they're so much more likely to jump into the program when you're doing that live campaign that has that hype and that energy and that real time feel. And like, you actually can connect with people on like throughout that live campaign, whatever that looks like. And it's really interesting when we brought these things together, we have found, and it has remained true to this day, like years later, when we look at our live launches, our live campaigns, over 50% of the buyers have gone through the funnel before. So it's like they went through that funnel, built that baseline with me, and then purchased in the live launch. And I just can't like stress it enough that these things work so incredibly well together. And the live launch, it also attracts different buyer types, right? If you got the fast action people in your funnel, you're getting the people in your live launch who maybe need more of those touch points. They need the longer runway. They need more of that warming with you to make the purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Okay. That's very clear. I'm curious next, for AI, like why can't course creators ignore AI in 2025? I'm really big on AI. I want to kind of hear your take on that.
Yeah, well, oh my gosh, we could spend the whole episode talking about different ways we're using AI, I feel like. So I think that there's like nuance here, because AI can be, from a course creator's perspective, AI can obviously be really incredible at helping you produce elements of your course that you're building. I think what's important to understand is like the legality point of view. This is all still very gray area of like, can you really copyright and sell something that AI has produced? And as far as I understand right now, the answer is no. So if you want to retain copyright of your, and have it really be like your intellectual property in your program, I still really am a big believer that this needs to come from you. Like this needs to be your experience, your skill set, your thoughtful, expertise that leads the creation of this course that you're putting together. But then use AI to help you build certain things out. Like, for example, a really simple example would be like, let's say I'm recording videos that teach something for my program. Well, then I can take the transcripts of those videos and have AI help me put together all like the welcome stuff for each lesson. It can help me put together like the additional like tools or workbooks or accompanying downloads that go with each of those courses, right? And then the other aspect that I think is really interesting and important as we move into 2025 and beyond is like integrating AI into the offer itself. Meaning, if I'm teaching you something, so let me give you a really tangible example. I have a program where I teach about email marketing. And if I'm teaching you about email marketing, I can actually build public-facing tools using AI. So I use ChatGPT in this case via like custom GPTs.
Yep.
I can build them to be trained on my frameworks and methodologies, like my IP, and hand those over to my students so that they can implement what I'm teaching so much more quickly. So I have, a custom AI assistant that is trained on my way of doing subject lines, and it spits out subject lines for them. I have a custom AI assistant that's trained on my way of doing email marketing, and they can use that AI assistant to write the emails for their business, right? So integrating AI, I think, into our courses and into our offers is this next iteration of like the online course model and world. And if you are just selling information, at some stage that is going to die. Like, I feel like we're in a moment where like things are shifting. So you really want to think about usable. I think there's like two ways to compete in the new world of AI. One is like integrating it fully. Like, what are the tools? What can I be building? How can I help my students implement faster? And then the other is leaning into human connection. So it's like human connection over everything else. Like, I'll give you the information and have curriculum for you, but we're going to be doing coaching, or we're offering, one-on-one stuff, or we're auditing your things. So there's a community, or there's whatever it might look like where we're leveraging actual human connection. And I think that those two things are going to be more and more important in this field. And then as an aside, just because we can't have this question, I can't not talk about it. But like, as a course creator, or frankly, any online entrepreneur, if you're not using AI to run the back end operations and systems in your business, you are leaving a huge amount of, I don't even know how to put this, like, you're not leveraging the efficiency and time saving that you could be. And I am a huge believer in the way that I don't think you need to be up on every latest AI development. Frankly, there's new things coming out every day. It can be a full-time job just to like stay on top of it. But what I have gotten most value from are building these AI assistants. I do them on ChatGPT and Claude for like two different functionalities. But I have these little assistants that are trained on very specific things for my brand and my business and my operations. And those assistants now they have saved us countless hours per week and saved me so much expenses when it comes to like team as well. So absolute game changer. Had to mention it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like there was so much hype and everybody talking about the idea of like, oh, you want to get a virtual assistant for your course business or whatever. And yeah, that can be so powerful, but like, you can get a lot of that now from AI essentially for free.
Yes.
And yeah, you don't have to say like, oh, I'm going to take all this time to understand all of it and implement it with everything. But I always say, like, think of one like tedious thing that you do repetitively. Like, how can you involve AI in that? Mm-hmm. Because there's probably some things where, or even if not something that you do repetitively, something that you wish you could do repetitively, but you just don't have time for.
Yeah.
And there's probably some things like that it's just a small little thing that you've got to do all the time. But if AI could take care of it for you, it would save you hours every week or month or even every day. So
yeah. Yeah, the operational things, also like copywriting stuff. There's just so many avenues for time saving. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I agree with all of your points there. I think creators should either realize, like, the way I say it is that if you're making courses, like the idea of like a mini course for like $9 or something like that, I think that's kind of going away because like you should still try to make like great lead magnets and all of that. But if somebody can just go to like ChatGPT and ask them to explain it, like they can pretty much just get it there. Mm-hmm. But where your value comes as a course creator is your unique message and your unique experience. And like, that's why people want to learn from you and would purchase from you and not somebody else. And they can't get that from ChatGPT because ChatGPT is not you.
For sure.
And
Yeah. And this also ties into the whole conversation around like building your business on your personal brand. I think as a course creator, that's more important than ever, because to your point, if you want to stand out and compete in the marketplace, if you're just behind like a faceless logo, you're really not able to build that same like relationship with your audience that you can with a personal brand. And people buy from people, right? Like,
yep.
All of that really matters. And so if that's not something that you have thought about or put much time into thinking about in terms of how is my personal brand really coming through in all the content I'm publishing and everything that I'm touching in my business, now's the time to be thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So to be really clear, I think a good example of maybe what not to do is to think like, okay, like I heard Brian and Gemma talking about this. So that means I'm going to go make 1,000 AI generated courses and go sell them all. That's how I'm going to use it. No, don't do that. And it's all going to be this faceless brand that is, I'm just going to build that. That has little value, and the value that it does have is only kind of going to go down.
100%.
So yeah, it's got to be yourself. You don't have to like share everything about your personal life, but having some way for people to connect with you, that's really going to change a lot and help you impact more people with that. And then the other point about, well, how can you then integrate AI with what you're offering? I like that point as well. We've done some of the same things with custom GPTs. I did that when we made like an AI course at not last year, but the end of the year before that. And right when the custom GPTs came out, we included a couple things that could help you with things like that. And told our creators, like, you guys should do that too. Like, build a GPT you can offer with your course. And I think a good way to think of this is I think you mentioned like the idea of having like a formula, like this is the way you would write an email or you would write a subject line, and you can tell that to AI and then it can help implement that for people. And even if it doesn't do it as good, which it's probably, of course, going to be better to just get it from you directly and get like actual coaching from you directly to do that. What's really powerful about it is wherever you do have some kind of formula of some certain specific steps you would tell somebody, the AI, by the fact of it being able to say like, okay, you give me this information, now here's what I'm going to like transform and give back to you, just being able to see that as like the potential customer or student, it can really help you learn and move along a lot faster. So it's really valuable to your customers in that way.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Awesome. So yeah, I've talked about my opinions on AI a lot here, and at Heights Platform, we already offer a bunch of AI tools for our creators. Like our view in like the course creation process is that AI is not making the content for you, but it's helping you with different parts of that. So it's helping you set up all your products and like configure the settings, the technical part. So like you get to focus on creating and not like learning software. Yeah. And then when you have made the lesson, it can go and review the lesson and let you know like, hey, here's some questions your students might actually answer about this. So you've got that like first initial feedback if you're not ready to put it in front of real people yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, is there any other AI tools that you swear by besides like ChatGPT?
Oh, I've kept it really lean in terms of using ChatGPT and Claude are my two big ones. I use Claude usually when I need more like longer form writing done or kind of deeper thinking. That's when I'll use Claude. And then ChatGPT is more of my like my hype girl. She's really good at like the more like peppy stuff, and she's really good at like quick tasks. So yeah, I kind of think of them like a little bit differently. But I really use those two the most. And then we use Zapier and Make a lot. And they kind of do similar things in terms of like building workflows and automating workflows, but they just are in their own lane a little bit in terms of like the style of workflows that they build. So sometimes we've had to use like one versus the other, but we have both. And we've also used that. So we've used Zapier for this, but to build almost like a clone of me, so that when my students are inside of my program and that clone has been trained on all of my content for that program, they can go and ask it questions. And so it's kind of like a 24/7 chatbot for them. And if it gets stumped, then the question can come to me, but it's like the thing that they can use to get their answer more quickly. So and that's built out on Zapier in connection with OpenAI. So yeah, but generally keeping it quite lean in terms of, I don't think you need to be subscribed to like 17 different pieces of software. I think you can get a lot from a few.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, ChatGPT, I would say, is a good first one for everybody. Like, if you're not paying for at least the $20 a month plan, like, it's definitely worth it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's too many tools you need. I'm curious, actually, have you tried the new the deep research feature in ChatGPT?
I haven't, but I when I saw it come out, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is going to dethrone Claude for me in terms of thinking that Claude is my deep thinker. Like maybe ChatGPT is going to come to the playing field now with more capacity in that way. So we'll see.
Yeah. So it's at the time of recording here, it's like less than 2 days old.
Yeah.
But I've tried it a little bit and it is really powerful. So here's my idea of like how to use it for course creation. Like we tell everybody that you've got to go and like validate what you're trying to do and do some research, but most people don't like enjoy doing that, right? You want to just build the thing that you're trying to build. And so I think that this deep research can potentially do a lot of that for you. And I think you could probably come up with a really great prompt to like share with your students and customers about like what they should ask it.
Mm,
But essentially what I tried is I said like, okay, I want to make an online course teaching people how to use AI to produce music. I'm a musician and I've been looking into like AI for music, right? So
okay.
I told it that, and I told it what I wanted to know was like, what are people asking about online?
Mm,
And because you want to figure out like, well, what's the questions that people actually have? Because you need to address those in the course. You need to address that in your landing pages, your emails. And I wanted to know like, is there competition? Like, what does that look like? Who else is doing something like this? And like, what's like, how can I learn more about like the actual result that this should provide people? What are they actually looking for to learn? And I had it run. It took like I think about 20 minutes to like run and do all its research. It went through 30 different sites and it shows you all the sites it's like reading on the side. And then its response, I had to like copy and paste it to check how many words it was. It was over 11,000 words that it gave me back
wow.
in one message. So it is this really, really detailed report. I probably should have asked it like keep it to like this length at least.
Right.
But I told it like after it gave the report to send like these specific details at the end, so at least I could like read that quicker. And yeah, it was really powerful. Like I found I didn't do too much manual research myself yet thinking about that, but it gave me tons of great questions that like I never thought people would be asking, but like made complete sense. And like yeah, it was basically like what I would say is if you have a bunch of ideas for a course and you're not
Mm.
sure like well what's the one I should actually move forward with, just run every single one through deep research and then look through those reports that you get back and then you can decide.
I love that suggestion. That really changes everything about how one does market research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think it's such a fun time for creators because basically you just get to create. You get to do like all the fun parts now is like where you can spend your time more instead of all the like the research and the technical side and all of these things.
Love that. Yeah. And the copywriting, even like, yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So let's see. What else should we talk about with AI? I think there's a lot of other things we can cover with this still before we get on to anything else. Um, anything else you feel that you want to just mention related to AI or like how you see people use it or maybe how they can first start using it if they're not already?
Yeah. I mean, I think people are getting a little bit nervous about figuring out the AI assistant piece, so like the custom GPT piece. And I guess I would just say it's not as scary as you might think it is. Like just start to explore creating one. And in terms of like actual tactical tips, when you go into ChatGPT to create your first custom GPT, I wouldn't necessarily use it kind of takes you through like a little chat bot to try and configure your like instructions and things like that. And I actually think
Mhm.
it's better to do it away from that. I feel like sometimes it can like lead you in the wrong direction. And so my inclination and the way that I've built a lot of mine out have been to start just with like a simple Google Doc of like putting ideas on paper of like what is if I want to create, let's say, an AI assistant that is going to help me write captions for my social media posts. Like I just want to kind of brain dump on paper everything that it will need to know about caption writing and then take that to just regular ChatGPT and have ChatGPT help you flush those out as really comprehensive instructions. And the more I think people will like build a custom GPT and then it doesn't work that well. And so they're kind of like, forget it. Like it's not that great. And just like anything with AI, the more specific you can be in your instructions and the more like knowledge files, that's basically like the library that you can upload to the custom GPT to give it the background information it needs. The more you can do that, the better the output will be. And I made the mistake at the beginning of like trying to build a custom GPT that would do everything, right? It was like from a social media perspective, it'd be like, okay, well, write the text overlay for those carousels and then also do the captions and then also turn it into an email and I found that the more specific I was and kept each one to one, like it being hyper knowledgeable on doing the one thing really well,
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
definitely like the best play. And it was when I started to get the best output from them. And then you can always build them into a workflow, right? If you want someone to produce something and then it gives it to the next and it produces something and gives it to the next, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Well, a cool thing that I wish OpenAI talked about more is like you can at mention in a chat the other GPTs.
right.
And so you could have the one like help you with a subject line or something, and then you can say like at mention like this other one, now can you do this? And it can be confusing because as humans, like if we were going to work with another human, we would expect they can do a bunch of different things for us.
Right.
So it's natural to think like, oh, I'm going to make this assistant. It's going to do all my stuff. But the current models, yeah, they excel at like doing one very specific thing. And then you got to make different ones for
Yes.
those different tasks.
Totally. And then the last thing I'll say is that the other thing that's been really useful across almost all of my AI assistants has been to develop a really strong brand book at the beginning. So I actually have this as like a little mini offer that I sell to my audience. And it has all of these very in-depth prompts inside of it to take you through a conversation with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool is your preference, to pull out, like back to our conversation earlier about personal brand, like to really pull out what your brand is all about, who your target audience is. And we're not just talking about these like baseline things. We're talking about really deep, like what are their emotional desires? What are the trigger events that are going to get them to make a purchase? What, all of these, like I think this section on my target audience is like 7 or 8 pages long in my brand book. So it's like incredibly in depth. And then you're going to also put in things like the offers that you have in your business and maybe some writing samples or things like I do say this or I don't ever say this. And if you have it all in one brand book, that brand book can be attached as a knowledge file to every single AI assistant that you build, and you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. And it becomes this like one source of truth of like everything about your brand or your company in one document. It's also incredibly helpful if ever you are bringing on team members or
Yep.
need something that kind of gives people the overview of what your business is all about. It's I waited way too long to create one and should have done it ages ago.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, having this extra documentation that's really helpful to AI is also going to be helpful to your team or like anybody who's going to work with you in the future.
Yeah.
I would say that that was a great way to describe it because like AI isn't going to like be able to like reason through and understand like those fundamental, really important things that it needs to know about you. But if you can tell it those things, and if you can tell it like, this is how I work, or this is how the formula works,
Yeah.
then it's really able to like transform and use that.
Yes.
And so that's the way you've got to think of treating it, not saying like, hey, you're going to write a really good subject line for me. Go do it. If you
Yeah.
do that, it's going to say the same words that it says for everybody else. Like
Exactly.
it's going to say unleash, unlock, and like all of that kind of thing.
And it's going to have the rocket emoji. It loves
Yeah,
the
it's going to have a rocket emoji after it. And so that's not what you want to do. But if you can tell it like I specifically do these things for when I write a subject line, and like this is how it has to be, and like this is what words you choose, you're going to get a much better result.
100%.
Awesome. All right, I'm curious, is there anything like that you're working on now that's new that you're excited to share?
Sure. It's funny. It's based on our conversation that we've just been talking about. So I have a new offer that I kind of beta sold in Black Friday of like 2024. And so we've been dripping it out to those beta buyers this month. So at the beginning of 2025. And it's going really well. It's an offer called AI Dream Team, and it's all about this. It's all about building, like utilizing AI to build these very customized AI assistants to really help you run the back end of your business and your operations. And I have been like head down building all of this out, and it's been so fun. I haven't been this like lit up about anything in a while. So yeah, that's kind of the new area for me. And I think in 2025, like I'll publicly launch it and then sort of develop more like marketing around this offer and get more people into it. But it was a runaway success when we did this beta round in Black Friday. It blew us away. Like it was almost 6 figures in sales just on one day during Black Friday. Yeah. So it was, the appetite is there. People want to learn about this stuff. And I think for me, it really lines up with what I've always talked about, which is how to run a successful, ambitious, big business, but in part-time hours, right? Like, or in the way, like within the boundaries of your life, and giving you that freedom that you really want to be able to hang with your family, to travel, to pursue your hobbies, right? To like live your life the way you want to live it, not be chained to your computer all the time. And I think this is why like I'm just so excited about it, because I've talked about that in terms of marketing strategies, but this is like a whole new area for me to be able to really teach about this stuff. And it's changed the way I've run my own business. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I have similar feelings about everything with AI and all that. It's really such an exciting time to be a creator.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, I've got one more question for you, and that's on this show, I like to have every guest ask a question to the audience. So if you could ask our audience anything, whether something you're curious about or just want to get people thinking about, what would that be?
I mean, I think it would be back to our original part, or what we talked about sort of when we opened this episode, which was back to the idea of developing a business around your expertise. And so the one question I would have would be like, if you could teach a group of people one thing, so that could be something you've learned in your career, it could be something you've learned in your business, it could be something to do with your life experience, like what would that one thing be? And have you pursued it? Like, are you building it? Is it out into the world? And if it's not, this is maybe me giving you your, kick in the behind to get building and to put it out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, Gemma, thanks so much for coming on the show. Before we get going, where else can people find you online?
Yeah. So if you love listening to podcasts, you can head on over to The Course Creator Show and hit subscribe. We also publish episodes weekly, or at least we try to weekly. And you can find me on social media at Gemma.Bonham-Carter or on my website, GemmaBonham-Carter.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.